Hey, what's up? I hope I look good. I can't see myself. Yeah. Okay, alright. Hope this doesn't look too weird. So, August has come to an end. I've watched quite a bit of movies and TV shows, and I want to talk about all the things that I watched, maybe recommend some of these things to you if you have not seen them. We have quite a bit to talk about, so let's just hop into it. To start off the month, my wife and I watched Quinn Shepard's new film, Not Okay. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little surprised by this movie. The trailer had me with the storyline it was advertising, but the actual movie roped me in with its characters and social commentary. I think Zoe Deutsch, is that how you say her last name? I think she does a great job, and the editing in particular stood out to me. But where this movie lacks is in its writing. The pacing is really rough in some parts. There's some outdated humor, and there's an overemphasis on the fact that this main character is unlikable, which, like, duh, I get it. They forced that point so much that sometimes it just made me feel like the movie didn't trust the audience enough to understand that the main character isn't someone to look up to, and that sometimes took away from the story for me. However, there were plenty of good moments that had my wife and I cringing out of secondhand embarrassment. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, I say check it out. After that, I checked out Fresh, the Hulu original starring Daisy Edgar Jones and Sebastian Stan. I really loved this movie. I had a vague idea of what the movie was about, but I went in blind for the most part, and I think that's the way to do this movie. The tonal shift after the first act actually got me pretty good. I had to pick my jaw up from the floor. Daisy Edgar Jones and Sebastian Stan have amazing chemistry, and they play off of each other so well. The cinematography is pretty unique for a movie like this. Lots of static wide shots that I really liked. However, I think the ending falls pretty flat. I feel like the writers kind of wrote themselves into a corner, and they just had to rush an ending. It kind of turned into the type of movie that I thought this movie was trying to differ from, if that makes sense at all. Overall, though, I think the pros outweigh the cons that I have with this movie, so I highly recommend this one as well. After that, I watched Election for the first time. I don't think I've ever seen a movie handle this dark of subject matter in such a comedic way in, like, ever. It felt like American Beauty, but if American Beauty just went full comedy. This, in my opinion, is Matthew Broderick's best work. His character will have you yelling at the screen because of the decisions he makes. Drew Barrymore does an amazing job getting all of the small and subtle intricacies that make her character so annoying. And she's also the perfect antagonist for Matthew Broderick's character. This movie is shocking, hilarious, depressing, and actually pretty rage-inducing. I absolutely love this, and I'm glad I waited to watch this one because I don't think high school or college Cody would have appreciated this one as much. Yeah, I really love this one. And then I watched a movie called The Amazing Panda Adventure. I talked about this one on the first episode of my podcast for a little bit. I originally watched it with the intention of making a video about it, but that didn't happen, so I kind of watched it for no reason. Lucky me. I don't remember a ton about this movie other than it's super 90s, mildly racist, and full of cringeworthy jokes. The pandas were real, though, I will say that. They used real pandas. I have no clue what the animal protection rights were on set for this movie, but the pandas were real, so it gets at least a point for me. And then I watched Prey for my podcast. Check out The Movie Shelf. It's my podcast that I started recently. The first 2 episodes are up on my channel and also wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. It's a really fun thing that I like doing with my buddies, where we watch a movie and then we sit down and talk about it. If you like that kind of thing, check it out. There's my shameless plug. But basically, on that podcast, I say everything that I have to say about this movie. I guess I'll just give you the quick little rundown thoughts that I had of it. I liked it. I really liked it up until like the 45-minute mark, where I then realized that nothing was really happening. The CGI on the animals was good until the animals had to move. I wish the movie wasn't in English. I know there's a Comanche dub, but I wish it had an English dub, if that makes sense. It's definitely the best Predator movie since the first one, but that's not saying a ton. After that, I checked out Scott Derrickson's The Black Phone. Everyone I talked to and like reviews I read about this movie said that this was like the next great horror movie, and it's amazing, and it's, you know, top tier horror. Did we watch the same movie? The logic of this movie was all over the place. Like, why do we need to see the ghost of the dead kids? Why can't they just be distorted voices over the phone? Is it because the writers and director didn't trust the audience was smart enough to realize that he was talking to ghosts on the phone? One of the first dead kids he talks to walks over the phone and like hangs it up and like ends the call, and I was like, oh, so the ghost can like interact with the environment. No, that's the only time that happens. Every other time is just for like shock value or to be like, hey, it's a ghost. Then there's like a whole thing with the main kid's sister and how she like has dreams that connect with like these dead kids. They never show that in the beginning. They just kind of tell you that happens. Like there's just all of a sudden a scene where the cops are talking to the sister and they're like, so tell me about these dreams you're having. And you have to be like, oh, okay, that's a thing. She has dreams that can solve the mystery about these kidnapped kids. Okay. The movie also spoon feeds the ending to us like we're babies who can't understand a mediocre twist. I will say Ethan Hawke does really good, but what's new? He always does. The man can do anything. Yeah, I don't know. This one just wasn't my thing. I didn't like it. Sorry. Then after that, I checked out Jared Carmichael's On the Count of Three. This movie made me feel bleak, but somehow also managed to keep a smile on my face for most of it. The blend of darkness and comedy is done so well in this, and a lot of the times low-budget indie movies like this can't pull that off as well, but Carmichael does an amazing job with it. The way this movie portrays things like depression, suicide, and mental health is very unique and differs from other movies that talk about this type of subject matter. I think Gerard Carmichael and Christopher Abbott play off of each other very well. Their chemistry is like so well done in this. Christopher Abbott specifically puts everything he's got into this role and does an amazing job. I really hope he gets some recognition for his performance in this. The movie is really just a crazy roller coaster of emotions. I laughed and cried a ton. I had a tear rolling down my face as the movie faded to black. Jared Carmichael did an amazing job with this, and I really hope he continues to make movies in the future. Then my buddy Michael and I sat down and watched Martin Scorsese's The King of Comedy for my podcast. This was my first time seeing this, and I hate that I waited so long. This is some of the best work I've seen from Scorsese. It's definitely now in my top 3 of his movies. Robert De Niro is killer in this. Jerry Lewis is perfect. Anything that's been said about this movie has already been said. I'm not adding anything new to the conversation. Plus, you can hear me talk about this movie at length on my podcast. I'll definitely be rewatching this one often. I really loved this one. Then I checked out Juzo Itami's The Funeral. I hope that's how you say that name. I hope I didn't butcher that. I think this movie or a movie like this should be made in every country because a funeral really is a great setting to see how different cultures deal with not only loss, but how they deal with love and celebrate life. And Itami does this so well for Japanese culture with this movie. There's some really great comedic moments that cut through some heavy emotional beats like a knife. The small setting forces the camera to get creative, and some of the cinematography is just super smart. All of the characters and the dynamics between them are superbly written and acted out. I would still put this below Tampopo, but I really did like this one. The next movie I checked out was Crooper? They say it a bunch of times in the movie, and I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm gonna say Crooper. But yeah, this movie rips. This movie is freaking awesome. I really loved it. The framing device used to tell the story plays out very well. Clive Owen gives an outstanding performance, probably the best I've seen from him since like Children of Men. The sound design and camera work are standouts in this movie. A lot of tight close-ups on like hands and card shuffling. Very satisfying to the senses. The movie does drag a bit at the end. Like right when you think it's gonna end, it cuts to another scene, and it does it a few times, but other than that, there isn't a lot to complain about this movie. It's really, really good, and if you haven't seen it, I suggest you check it out. Okay, and then the last movie I watched this month was Rob Reiner's This Is Spinal Tap. This movie isn't bad, but it just didn't do it for me. I think I might have watched this one a little too late in life. I've seen a lot of mockumentary movies, and I know this one is considered like one of the greats, but I found a lot of its humor overdone. I know if I had watched this in like middle school or high school, I probably would have loved it, but overall, I just wasn't invested and was let down by a lot of the humor. That being said, I think a lot of the performances in here are really good. There were several moments where I had to remind myself that these people were actors and not just an actual failing rock band. I'm sure there's an audience out there for this movie, so if it sounds like your cup of tea, I'd say check it out. I watched a couple TV shows as well. My wife and I watched season 2 of Only Murders in the Building. Thank God that this season ended better than it started. The first 2 or 3 episodes had me worried because I did not like them, but as the season progressed, the better it got, and the finale was actually incredible, in my opinion. It perfectly sets up for a season 3, and I can't wait for that. If you haven't seen this show, I recommend it. The Steve Martin and Martin Short duo is as strong as ever. The humor is solid, and the actual murder mystery plot of the whole thing is pretty intriguing. I also watched season 5 of Better Call Saul. No season 6 spoilers in the comments, please. I still haven't watched it. I'm going to soon, and hopefully when I'm done with that, I'll make a whole video about the series on my channel because I freaking love that show. How long has this been going on? How long has this ad been going? This ad's been going for 7 minutes and no one stopped. What is this even an ad for? Do not take Scorpy if hopefully some of you needed that medicine. My bad, guys. Sorry, I just wanted to keep my trippy backgrounds going. That's so embarrassing, dude. I'm gonna hate that. I can't, all of the stuff I said was so genuine, I can't re-record. Okay, sorry about that. I also watched Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal. Please go watch that. That's all I'm going to say. Nathan Fielder's a genius. And then lastly, I just want to mention the new Game of Thrones show, House of the Dragon. The first 2 episodes are out, and so far, I'm rocking with it, dude. I kind of love it. I love having my Game of Thrones Sundays back. The first 2 episodes were pretty baller, in my opinion. If you've seen it, please let me know what you think. I really hope they keep it up because so far I'm loving it. And that's about everything I watched this month. If you've seen any of these things, please let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you haven't seen some of these, but they seem interesting to you, I encourage you to go watch them and come back here. Let me know what you think. That's about it. My name's Cody Metcalf. Thank you for watching.